bet kind of small and then proceed to try to shovel in the chips on future streets. I also like to do this when I have what is the stone cold nuts. In this position, I think my opponent never has ace king. He probably never has pocket sixes because those hands would have either four bet me pre-flop or it's just unlikely that he would have called out of position if he's got pocket sixes here. So, because I think my hand is so good, occasionally what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet really small to just get my opponent to just spaz out and do something really, really stupid against me. So I go ahead betting 250. I don't really know what he's going to do, and he goes ahead and puts in the raise. I mean, this is a really, really good spot for me because I definitely think that I have the absolute best hand. He's going to have some bluffs here, which is the really important thing. So let's say my opponent has an ace. If he's got ace jack, ace 10, no matter what the flop and what happens on the turn of river, all the money's going in. I have the best hand. I'm not going to worry about losing any value against him, especially because I have position. If he checks the turn, I can just bet the turn. If he checks the river, I can just bet the river because I have position. I can always make sure all of the money goes in. That's one of the big powers of position. If he's got a bluff here, I never want to re-raise him on the flop because that just indicates, wow, I've got trip aces here. Booyah. I don't want to signal to my opponent that I have a strong hand here. I want to bet kind of small, let him raise me, and let him to continue to barrel off, fire more bullets against me when he has totally nothing. So go ahead, make that small bet, and see what happens on the turn. And he goes ahead and overbet shoves. This is actually a spot which makes me a little bit nervous, simply because he did it so quickly, so confidently, and also the 10 is a card which perceivably could have helped his range. If he had pocket tens on the flop and did something absolutely stupid, now he's improved to a full house against me. Additionally, if his out of position calling range includes a hand like ace 10, well, now that he also improved a full house. However, and I also don't think that there are too many bluffs that check raise the flop in a 3-bet pot and then just absolutely jam the turn, because that just seems like pretty much suicide, because I have to have a lot of trips in my range. This is another situation where my perceived range looks really strong, so when my opponents try to put in a lot of money against me, it's less likely that they have a bluff. He goes ahead and monsters me with pocket jacks. I can't begin to tell you how terrible my opponent's play is. Panda CH, I don't know what you were doing, but you did it badly. I do like pandas, however, so I'm going to be a little bit more forgiving. The one thing I would like to say is that, when my opponent check raises the flop, I don't know what he's trying to do. If he's trying to bluff me, he succeeds in the sense that he might get me to fold a hand like, queens or kings, which is maybe what he thought I had when I bet really small. I was looking, making a little tiny scared bet. But, if he's going to try to get me to fold trips, he's absolutely out of his mind. It's a big, inflated pot, and a lot of the trips I have are going to be very strong trips. Additionally, the 10 also might give me a full house here. So I don't think that his hand, his strategy works really well as a bluff. It's definitely not what we like to call for value. That is, when he shoves such a big bet on the turn, he's not going to ever get me to call with a worse hand here. So this is a situation where I bet really small on the flop. It confused my opponent, and he just did something, he just kind of puts up his middle finger against me. He's like, I'm just going to go all in, and he makes a hysterical mistake against me and just donates, $25. And I just go ahead and bricks off the river, and I pick up the pot quite easily. And he donates, 12 or 13 Sprite Zeros, right? Sales tax in Lakeview, Chicago is actually really high, so that only might be like 10 Sprite Zeros, but that's still not bad. I do like Sprite Zero. Today I went to Best Buy and I had like $30 gift certificate, but there aren't that many things at Best Buy that I want that it's only $30. For example, if I want a mouse, like that's exactly $30, or a DVD might be $30, but I don't know why I'd want to buy a DVD, because obviously if you're watching this video, I have the internet, which means that any CDs or DVDs or even video games that I might want are all kind of at my own disposal for what we like to call free, which is a really good price for a lot of materials and medias. That being said, all the other things at Best Buy are worth like, $2,000, a 3D Sony TV, a new computer. So the $30 price range is kind of awkward, so I just bought $30 in, let's see, spicy jalapeno Chex Mix And let's see, what else did I get? Spicy jalapeno and Chex Mix. I got the Sprite Zero, and then I got like 13 vitamin waters, which is probably not the common thing that people buy when they're at Best Buy. Doo-doo-doo. Looks like some pretty standard hands are going down. Just going ahead, folding a lot of flops, taking a lot of cheap stabs on flops that are good to continuation bet, giving up when the boards are bad to continuation bet. Notice that I'm just not doing anything that crazy. I'm not playing a lot of garbage hands. I'm not playing some like ridiculous amount of hands. I'm making good decisions. I'm generally trying to stay out of pots when I'm out of position. And generally just trying to, play a lot of them when I'm in position. So, like, for example, on table 2, Vogon 42, this guy over here, over 372 hands, he's only played 8-2, which means that he's only played, let's see, 25 or maybe like 26 hands out of 372, which is just an absolutely tiny amount. To give you an idea of what I play about 15-12, so I probably play about double the amount of hands that he does, and I'm a pretty tight player. So if he's playing uber tight. When I have a hand like Pocket Deuces, now Pocket Deuces might actually fare pretty well against his range because it's going to be very difficult for him to fold when I hit trips. With that being said, it's also going to be difficult to play when I miss. I'm not going to be able to bluff him very often, so I usually just find a fold. I actually do think in this position I would have folded, but that would have been a mistake, simply because Vogon has $42, which just means that, when I hit my trips and he's got a hand like aces or kings, which is not going to be that often, but occasionally, I'm going to be able to extract a lot more value out of him because we have a little bit more money in each of our stacks. So as a general rule of thumb, the deeper you are with your opponent, the more you want to see flops with speculative hands that are difficult for your opponent to put you on. So, if I'm 300 big blinds deep with my opponent, I'm going to want to play a lot of pocket pairs. I'm going to play a lot of like suited connectors, even some like strange hands like, king 6 suited, 4 deuce offsuit, because my opponents are never going to be able to put me on that hand, and I'm going to extract a lot of money when I hit like awkward 2 pair, or weird straights, right? With like 2-4 can flop, ace 3-5, and it's just going to be really, really hard for my opponent to put me on that hand. When he's got a hand like ace king or trips, he's often going to have to pay me off. So deuces probably would have been a call pre-flop, probably would have made a mistake. However, when a tight player raises and then another unknown goes ahead and re-raises him, it's just so likely Mama Bell here, or whatever this guy's name is, he just has such a strong range that even though, I have deuces here, I will not be able to continue. I'm going to flop a set 1 in 8 times. However, even though, the odds should be 1 in 8 to call, and, if he's making it $2.25, I need to call here when he's got, $18 at least to make my play break even, which maybe to the naked eye looks like I should call with deuces. There's going to be a lot of times, again, where he has ace king, and then he's not going to hit an ace or a king, or times when he's got queens, and the flop is going to hit an ace or a king, and he's going to want to slow down against me. So I go ahead and muck my pocket deuces. For what it's worth, in that particular situation, I probably would have continued with, like, let's say jacks plus. Maybe I would have folded jacks. I'd definitely continue with queens plus, ace king. I'd probably 4-bet aces. Actually, I'd probably just re-raise and get in a lot of those hands, trying to get it all in with the $18 stack, but putting in almost no money without aces or kings against the guy who I was deep against. He was so tight that I probably would not have gotten kings in against him, because I think that a player of that profile would only get it in with me with aces, so I'd probably just try to get in aces against him. Delicious. Table 1 is middle and coordinated. As we said, when the board comes 2 cards in between, a queen and an 8, and there's a flush draw, there's a lot of straight draws, it's not going to be that great to continuation bet. If I bet here, I can definitely get him off a hand like, pocket 5s, pocket 4s, right? Those are under pairs to the board, but that's going to make up the minority of this guy's range. He's going to have a lot of hand like king queen with like 1 diamond that just might peel because he has position and he wants to do something stupid. He's going to have a lot of like queen jacks, which is 2 pairs and a gut shot. And so even though I might bet the flop and he's going to call with the best hand, because I'm just going to give up on the turn very often, I'm just going to have to check fold the turn. So if I can just imagine the majority of scenarios I'm going to have to give up on future streets, I'd rather just go ahead and give up on the flop and put in as little money as possible. That's going to be a recurring theme in all the videos that I do. If I recognize that I'm going to get into a lot of difficult situations